2004, that's why I'm still here. Because he showed me how to use the body correctly and not hurt it.
Have you been here before with back pain? Especially on the golf course. I sure have. Back and hip pain have plagued me for years. In search of some answers, I stumbled upon this video. It is a little old, but this swing is easier on the body, but it is also straightening me out because I'm not flipping my hands.
Buddies, whatever, their ground up part is no good. Their feet are too close together, toes are sideways, or bent over. With bad back guy, can't do that. When I went to see Jim in 2004, that's why I'm still here. Because he showed me how to use the body correctly and not hurt it. So I have no pain, which is, I better not say it too loud, but, so tell them how, go ahead, give it a rip.
Well,
how do we start?
It all starts with posture. We just want, we want your fanny underneath you. You want to brace your legs in. You want to be shoulder width. One very, very important thing, a fundamental of the golf swing, is to turn that right toe in. That's what creates coil and resistance. If that toe's turned out, you twist too much. So that's the fundamental that we did of getting his posture and getting him up. We wanted to get his spine and get him balanced, so then it's easy to go to his right leg inside, never outside, and go to the left. And that way your balance is right foot, left foot. It's inside the right foot to the left toe. And that's where your balance should be in the golf swing. You don't want to be
what it is in every other sport. Every other sport, it's right to left if you're a right-handed person. It's right. It's right. I call it back to the right, up to the left.
Yeah.
So when I stood there with a bad back, feet like this, basically heels together, basically, and bent over, I mean, it destroys that, and this really hurts. So what I learned is outside shoulder measurements, like he's always inside my feet, so it looks like that. So now I have balance, right? Standing like this, I have balance. I'm not standing like this, so I can move as much as I want, side to side. I can do whatever I want. But there has to be moved back into the right to make the ball go forward, period.
The outside shoulder width to the inside of your feet.
Inside your feet,
that's
yes.
a Hogan.
Absolutely.
Also.
Absolutely.
Hogan also talked about the right foot being perpendicular to the target line.
And then later he even talked about turning it in.
Okay.
Yeah. He sure did.
More so.
And that creates the coil. See, that's your resistance. You look at a good hitter in baseball. They turn the foot in. Look at an ice skater, a hockey player. They plant this way. They sure don't plant that way.
Right.
So when they plant here,
they can go to the target.
How many amateurs do you see perpendicular or even inside?
Almost none.
Almost
none. And it's because they don't know. So I always say this: if I have a narrow stance, say this is my stance with a 6-iron, which is horrible, narrow stance, and my toes are out this way, my right foot's out. All of a sudden, the right hip over rotates, the right knee straightens. It's just physics. Okay,
as soon as it does, your left
everything goes sideways, like you said. 13 sockets and joints.
They got to coordinate together.
And if one of them goes off, what do the other 12 do? They follow suit. Well, that was really cool when he told me that, because I didn't understand that. So now look, if I'm wide, and the wider you get, the taller you become. If I'm standing like this, I got to bend. Let's just exaggerate. If I'm standing like that, I'm taller. So in a normal stance, which I think this is, for me, shoulders inside feet, I'm tall. My spine is not tilted. I mean, it's tilted a little bit, but it's not bent over. It's not rounded. So I have no stress. So now if I push back into my right, this thing holds me. See, the hip's not moving much. But as soon as I turn the toes out, this thing over rotates, it's over. It's all she wrote.
Can't get back to the ball.
No, you can't. You can't push. And I always say that once I get back in here somewhere, now I can push that way. And every time I push that way, look at the club. It's right on the ball. So that's the easy part to understand. It's easy to do. No, you got to work your butt off. But it's physics, and that's what he taught me the most about it. Because I believed that when I first came down, the club has to move up and the club has to move down. It cannot go sideways and sideways. If the club goes sideways, guess what the ball does? Go sideways.
As players age, amateur players, they'll cheat that foot out to try and get more of a turn. But are you saying it's a fake turn, or it's not really?
Well, first of all,
this is good.
You see, if you turn that out and try to turn, all you do is twist. You twist into your left leg because you can't turn from 2 sockets and 2 joints. Now, ask a physics professor how, because you can't. So what happens is your spine has to move into that socket, into that leg, then it recoils. And it's very important things react. You had to be inside heel measurement, shoulder width. We want your knees slightly bent in. Hogan used to talk about feeling like he gripped the ground with the inside of his feet. And then from there, when you put your arms and you hold something, you're tying it in to the whole shoulder girdle.
the lats, the pecs, the whole area. Now my body is in a strong position. If I had a sack of potatoes or 50 pounds and I wanted to throw it in that direction, I'd go to my right leg, I'd go to my left leg. Not one time would I do it with my arms or try to do anything. I'd shift my weight to the right, shift my weight to the left. One of Hogan's thoughts was that he always tried to imagine when he changed his swing that his elbows were attached to his body on his stomach, not up at the shoulder. And he actually, what he called, created a half a left arm there. And that would be like holding something heavy, you'd be here opposed to here.
Right.
And Hogan, and you were too, a little bit that way in the golf swing, a little what we call long arm. So we like to see what we call half a left arm, and it connects to the whole shoulder girdle. So if I'm holding something heavy, I'm holding it with my pec and my lat. My spine is between my shoulders, so that just ties everything in. And then it ties in all the way down in your legs, your body, and everything. And then the key factor here, once you get the brace connected address, is to understand, Hogan actually said, I created a half a left arm. Well, we had a great ball striker back in the 40s named Ed Fergal that had a withered left arm. And then we had a great ball striker called Calvin Pete, who had a left arm that basically was frozen here. So all three of those people had what Hogan described, a half a left arm. And they were all great ball strikers. I mean, as pure as comes. So you've got to realize that is a factor in the golf swing. All great players have always had it. But connecting the left arm here is like tying the club into your spine. So once you move, you have a relationship from your spine to the butt of the club to the club head. That forms your V or your triangle. So if I don't change that in the backswing, look how far the club head would move, and all I did was shift my weight. And really what's left in the backswing from there is just feel like you hinge your elbows down, and there's your backswing. And actually, if you took what actually moves in the golf swing from the position here, the left knee kind of breaks to the right knee. With the left elbow down, the left lat makes a break back. So essentially, I've loaded right there. It's just kind of a 6-inch move, boom, I'm into my right leg. My arm's in a position that I could backhand someone. I try to explain that connected position as when you're here, if you were going to backhand someone, you wouldn't pull your left arm to hit them. You'd hit them with your right hip, your right leg, actually out of the ground. Right foot, right knee, right hip, right lat. That would be power, not the left arm being pulled. So connection is nothing more than tying everything together in an athletic position, and you've got all the big muscles where they'll work. You can't do anything under pressure in athletics if you're not connected. I've never seen a tennis player that wasn't, or a baseball player or anything else. They're always working, baseball players are working their body. They don't take their arms and try to hit. So, you know, connection is tying into big muscles. It's being able, when you create the short left arm, you're creating the inner force of centripetal force. When you set your right arm, you're creating the outer force. So when my spine shifts to the right, there's your V or your triangle. So when you get to your right leg, inside your right leg, always staying inside, all you do is hinge your right elbow, and there's a perfectly shaped triangle at the top. And that's what all good players do. There's the triangle at the top, there's the triangle at impact, there's the triangle through the ball. They bring it back around, the radius and the arc stayed the same. Over the time, my mentor Sam Bird taught a great golfer, blind golfer by the name of Charlie Boswell. He won 19 consecutive World Blind Championships. And they said that when Sam, the first time he hit a golf ball, he had to Charlie, excuse me, the first time Charlie hit a golf ball. Okay. The first time Charlie Boswell hit a golf ball with Sam Bird, the first thing Sam taught him was, being blind, that he had to keep his radius and keep his arc. That once, wherever he started here, the distance from here to his spine, if it remained the same, he could hit the ball and never see the ball. And that's an absolute fact. And that's the inner force. And that's how Charlie learned to play golf. Shot scores many, many times in the 70s and the 80s. And for a blind man, that sure isn't bad. So when you connect your left arm properly, and you feel like the left elbow's down, and you can feel you created a half a left arm, not a whole left arm, that creates a connection through the big muscles. And once you do that, and you've got it connected here, realize you're controlling the club face. So if you take a golf club and set up and just take your elbow and do that and watch how much the club face changes. And immediately the handle of the club would be out of the center of the triangle or the V, and you've disconnected. And that's why if people who cock their hands, they immediately take the radius out by changing it. So if you keep the connection, as we talked about with Charlie Boswell, then that left arm will always stay in the right position and always come back to center. That way I would still be holding the handkerchief under my left armpit. But if I took my left arm and did that, immediately the handkerchief falls out, the club goes around me, and I'm totally flat and out of plane to hit the ball. The ball's down here. How in the world can you go this way and hit something down here without rerouting and doing everything? The simplicity is when you go here, your elbow's down. That sets the club straight up and dead square where it started. And then from there, if you keep the elbow down, it's right back square, and there's a release to the target. Your body, everything's facing the target. You bring it back around, set it down.